Mr. Woolsey, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's great. We appreciate it. One of the difficulties all over the country and currently here is the fear of the utilities to lose control to the individual people, particularly the larger ones. Can you give us some additional discussions for how we can compete with that?
Yeah, that's hard.
It's sort of as if we all agreed and the government decided that organic fruits and vegetables were better for us than ones that had chemicals and so forth, and so that set a goal of 30% organic fruits and vegetables by 2030. And all of a sudden, people start growing more and more tomatoes in their backyards, planting fruit trees, etc., and they start showing up at a local, very large scale chain of grocery stores. And the head of the chain of grocery stores comes out and he says, look, this is going to be a real pain. I'd have to have contracts with each one of you, and I don't know if I want to bother with that. You over there, your pickup truck is sitting in my driveway. Would you move it? And I want to deal with a few big distributors. This is just trouble. Thanks a lot. Don't call me, I'll call you.
That's basically the utilities' view of locally generated renewable energy. And it will not be net a disadvantage to them if they start applying the technology that they are using now for the so-called smart grid to create not just a grid that they can control better from a central facility, but one that can deal readily with contributions from local areas. One thing that they don't like is the irregularity of solar and wind, because that obviously, even if you have a sunny state like Colorado, sometimes the sun doesn't shine, and it certainly doesn't shine at night, and wind blows intermittently. So it requires, from the point of view of managing the grid as a whole, it requires something to, quote, firm the renewables and to be able to be turned on when they're not on and so forth, and that tends to be natural gas facilities, because natural gas can be sized down as well as up. If you're driving on a highway and you pass a flatbed truck with what looks like an aircraft engine in the back, it may be an aircraft engine or it may be an entire natural gas plant. Modern natural gas plants can be very flexible and used in a number of different ways. And so one part of the answer to the utilities is to begin to work together with the renewables, especially solar, and what you can't do with storage, and the batteries are getting better and better all the time, so that's a plus. What you can't do with storage, you may be able to do with natural gas. And they would have to manage this, but they really have, I think, a sort of, many of them, the public utility commissions in a number of states and the utilities have a very rigid view that they want to have everything centrally controlled. And I personally, after studying this, think that the technologies that they're working on are readily adaptable to being able to deal with local areas that can generate their own electricity, that can be islanded in case the transmission facilities go down. But this is a tough haul, and they are joined on this by sometimes people who make renewables but want it to be only large utility scale plants. They are sometimes joined by people who want to keep us focused on coal, or people who want to build nuclear plants, and you're not going to be able to put a coal-fired power plant or a nuclear plant on the roof of a church or a school. So sometimes those interests lean against clean programs, feed-in tariffs. So you got to fight. this is not easy. But once you get something going, the experience in the 40 countries that have followed Germany in having what they call feed-in tariffs, and soon to be joined by Japan, India, and China, many of those for solar only, some of them for solar, wind, and biogas, but all of them focused on renewables. Those countries, what tends to occur is as people see the results of having local financing of local facilities, they can see that they're doing something. If you have a solar power plant built out in the middle of the desert, you might see it if you make a special trip, but you're not going to see it day to day as you drive to school or to church or business or whatever. What happens where you have these clean incentives for local energy is people start to see solar on roofs all over the place, farmers' fields as you drive by. And they see that they're accomplishing something, and then the other thing that happens is people start to make money. And it's not some big corporation, it's the guy who runs the local hardware store or the farmer right on the edge of town whom you know, and he's making several thousand or even tens of thousands of dollars a year from his solar installations, and people start to see that that's a good idea. I think it's a tough fight at first, but it gets easier as people see the payoffs.